Thank you so much, Geneva Association, for this incredible recognition. It's been a true honor to be recognized as your Woman in Insurance for 2024. That's the year. I'm trying to rewire, because everything I wanted to say, Mr. Lively just said. So I'm trying to rewire where I start my speech, but let me therefore not look at my notes, to speak from my heart. So you did hear, obviously, where I'm from, Sri Lanka, 9,000 miles away from here. So that's how far I traveled to be a part of this great audience today and yesterday, and listen to amazing research on many topics. So it's been a privilege of my life to be in this forum and listening to such thought leaders. And also, if you look at, obviously Sri Lanka is a very, very small nation. I was asked twice in this travel to the US, but not in this audience, outside. I took 2 days to spend a little time where Sri Lanka was. But we are a part of Asia, very beautiful, very small country. We're even smaller when it comes to the GDP footprint. When you think of, when you compare with the type of great nations that was in discussion in this forum the last 2 days. However, caveat is this, that we are as strong as any other nation when it comes to our culture, our tradition, and the determination of our people. Believe me, I've lived through 30 years of war and a lot of debacles, and we all every time we stood up and we marched forward. So that determination is something you see in that country. So the economic, the social and the political crisis that took place 2 years ago was also, it was like a result of, obviously, a lot of mismanagement. But at the same time, one of the speakers yesterday mentioned in passing that we were also one of the countries where the previous government got ousted because of that. And for that to happen, there has to be real emotion on ground, emotion requesting for accountability. Whether we saw it coming, probably, but we trusted the regime that was governing the government. So there was that level of emotion as well as disappointment. But also more than that, real fear gripping every household as to how we get through the next day. How do we find food? There's no electricity. Children couldn't go to school. People couldn't go to work. So there was real fear gripping every household, just about survival. And that was what was happening 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago. But standing here in this special audience, I don't want to recollect or recount the severity of the crisis, but rather I'll spend the few minutes given to me to talk to you about a company, a team, who refused to be broken by it. And that is AIA in Sri Lanka, the company I am privileged to lead. So let me put it into two contexts. So on the one hand, what did we concentrate on? 3 things. We concentrated on our people, we concentrated on our customers, and we concentrated on the financial health of our organization. In terms of people, when everything is going wrong, they look up to you for conviction. They look up to you for the road ahead. And it was that conviction that we had to communicate to them. There was no crystal ball. We just knew, and we were so convinced that we will get through this, and that tomorrow when we get through this, we'll be better than today. And also the purpose, and I've heard so much today, the conversation around healthier, longer, better lives, and that is what we give to our customers. Then how do you communicate that? And how would you communicate all that? With a lot of heart and with a lot of love, where people believe you. And not just believe you, people believe in you. So down to basics, when it comes to our people, that's our employees, and insurance is sold predominantly in Sri Lanka by individual insurance agents who are tied to companies. So for us, it wasn't really, honestly, about selling another policy. It was to make sure that we committed to the fact that none of them will lose their jobs because of the crisis. And secondly, it was mentioned about the food security programs. We had food security programs running across country. We were reaching out to farmers, wholesale providers, just to make sure our people, as much as we can, did not have a day where they didn't at least have one meal. And where our people didn't feel abandoned. It was so important to us because those were basics. Going through a crisis is such a mental agony. And we had so many societies involved with us virtually where our people could reach out and talk. And also if you look at, we even had not only a food crisis, there was no transport because there was no fuel. So what we did was, as much as possible, we virtually connected with our people. And of course, we try to keep them engaged with work. There was no electricity most of the days. So it was during the time that there was electricity in the country. We connected with them also to just share and share stories of how each other was facing the crisis and overcoming that. And that we saw it being paying forward. And as far as our customers were concerned, PSC as a commercial organization, we do not want to have, high lapses or hyperlapses or hyper surrenders. We want to protect our in-force book. And the last thing in people's mind when you do not have discretionary funds and where insurance is not compulsory is that they would not want to put insurance premium in their bucket list. So the conversation wasn't about, pay the premium, but about that we would make sure that you would be on cover. And that was very important, and that was something we also did with the regulator, and I must say, some of the other insurance companies in Sri Lanka. And also, if you look at, so it wasn't just about the in-force book. It was also about writing new business. The easiest would have been to stop new business, but that would have been the wrong thing for the organization. So we did promote. When there was hyperinflation, there was hyper interest rates. And in that market, we were very fast to market as to the type of solutions that fitted the new reality. We saw banks who control 75% of Sri Lankan financial sector struggling. So we entered into conversations to see, hey, bank assurance is a great thing, and we knew there were the customer pools. Their loyalty towards banks are very high. And in coming out of the crisis, AIA in Sri Lanka, we signed up with the largest private bank, which was the largest bank assurance deal in the country. So there were so many of those that we did. And coming out of the crisis, and the country and we as an industry are coming out of this crisis, and I'm proud to say AIA in Sri Lanka, we came out of the crisis not just as any company, as one of the leading, if not the leading, life insurer in the country with the highest capital adequacy ratios and the strongest balance sheet. So, what did that take? There were some things that happened before crisis which helped this journey. And it was the journey about inclusivity. And in terms of context, if you take Sri Lanka, 52% of Sri Lankans are women. 70% of undergraduates or diploma holders that come out of Sri Lankan education system are women. But only 30% end up in formal education. And we didn't want this to be the AIA story in Sri Lanka. And we did a lot of work. We did a lot of research. We engaged with organizations like the World Bank, IFC, to understand this phenomena. Of course, it meant that we have an equally represented workforce when it comes to our employees, as well as our insurance advisors. But we actually went beyond that. Our research showed that insurance is not known, what solutions that women can have are not known. In this research, we shared it with the regulator, and we did come up with propositions that are specific to women. We even went beyond that to even select micro communities of women who do not probably know even what insurance is, but beyond that, just being a great corporate citizen. I think insurers can be a great corporate citizens to bridge this gap where we support their industries, and that's something we passionately do. So standing here before you today, I am very proud to be a woman among many men, and also a woman who's a leader, to have led this journey. But I must also say that this wasn't a journey that was led alone. So I want to call out, although they're not here, my leadership team who led beside me, every employee, every advisor, every insurance agent in my community who shouldered this struggle and shouldered, obviously, the victory, and every customer who trusted our journey, who trusted insurance, who trusted AIA. And I also want to call out to AIA Group, my wider community. It is the giant on whose shoulders I stood by. It is the giant that empowered me to act with clarity as to where the organization should go, with courage to take bold decisions, and who stood by my decisions and the team's decisions, and humanity to really put the people first. And lastly, my family, without whose love and support, I would not be here today and be who I am today. And thank you, Geneva Association, for this wonderful opportunity, for hearing our story, listening to our story from so far away, and giving us the platform to talk about it with this great recognition. Thank you so much.